everyone knows this. Bad designed interfaces have to handle all day in our workplaces. I'm going to talk about Rasa going to interfaces, what we want to do. If you look at perspective, it's conversation to this human-to-human communities, starting with telephone, emails. Then there was a trend, and now it's going as we all already know. The first bots since early 2016, of bots, buttons you could click on that. Still out there, a lot of bots, and the new trend, conversational AI process learning, deep learning algorithms to communication and automation. Some is social messaging app and networking apps, and they are on their mobile phone, so spending their time just. Gartner predicted none of the new 0 to 1 average user in the and Gartner also predicted 85% with the company will. So customer service on every time you have with your company without a human of the. Another big trend is that enterprises building those solutions in-house. They have a huge department, conversational AI, because it's so to the product of this customers. So these trends, real conversation, dramatically change how this can. I would like to change the address on a mobile phone, a sales process where you sell a mobile contract. But we see the general away from web apps to just huge development. We at Rasa framework for conversations, which means learning for you enterprise bots you want to use. Just go to download the framework. That's very. And Rasa stack look like, or what artificial intelligence are main products, which is first. We have for this, so it turns what's the weather like to entities. One of the most important, but then you also need to in the conversation. So it needs to decide to really in the dialogue. In Rasa Core, which is normally you have a lot of based models, and we on for this next action based on conversation. I'm directly into some design UX practices we have previous with our enterprise customers. Some of them are quite obvious. You need to keep them really in mind conversational agent. The first one is that's very obvious, but people hate reading. Experience that lots of customers want to respond very explanatory way. What's the benefit of this? What's the potential is? But if you imagine a smartphone talking to a chatbot, you have this huge read them. That's so you have to just short and precise as possible, right? You have to be helpful in the user and also it's quite important because customer retention and there's a lot of messages, and this is to very low. A feature of the UI based on the channel chosen, you can use UI elements. Only rely on chatbot, you can use UI elements as possible. For example, here the customer wants to change an address, proposes address, just Google map, give back showing the location, immediately gets it. And there's many examples. If you use Instagram, if you use which UI elements use as much as possible to enrich your conversations. So most simple is use maps, pictures, and dynamic elements how to the input of the user. So if you use payments process, show the different UI elements from the payment process, easy to solve the problem. In the another practice, don't a lot of bots out there use rules. However, it's quite huge develop in order to make it. So the use case it was insurance with one of our dental insurance. You have to develop this decision before you it gives you a headache. It's like so the user input and real the users and your interactions. Use machine learning works, better workflow. How do you you call it? So the really an end-to-end with the flow in the end. The flow with test users or see where you have to adapt, collect these alternative flow, put it into the and use and handle cases. And how do you, what's the weather like tomorrow? And then you have to see, do you mean if you don't have the context ready? Sorry, I meant this. It's not the direct answer flow. You can create that, makes it really smart, and then the ball. So it's really important input to human-like interaction with the bot. Another uses exploration. What I mean by this is user through the show him actually use and connect with the bot. You could start by the bot shall handle address changes, weather, or I can help address or something. Always also some here in this case, I want to book, I want to fly with Airbus or some other important, you have to see where you can your processes. Initial flow, you put out the best guess and improve your flow. Also, which is quite important, understanding. So if the user now want to buy a pizza, they'll buy the bot. So you should understanding at any point in time. You heard in the previous talks or in all your important, if you handle it once, you should handle it twice. So if you book a flight on Friday in New York and you can of this, do that all the time. Next Monday is another. You should you should always. For example, here, if you context related analysis, you should always I cannot handle. It should you set expectation for the user will adopt this and will be dissatisfied time you can't handle this request. AI is still and you should handle. So what does it mean? Your system will fail or a conversation. So it should be and ask if you can't really the user put. For example, here you could based on the user input on the first time. And the best practice is the flow at any time. The flow. The user needs to stop it by I want to speak to a human or if the user entered to reverse everything, start the conversation, send this intent. For example, says, oh shit, I just forgot let's rather go by train, understand the intent, then say, hey, why don't we do the flow again? So, input when it feels. To sum it all up, the key takeaways: design your conversational interface fourth way, use guidance, be precise, really try to in interactions, using availabilities, so meaning use if you need to, but also it's like plots or something like that, and handle the input in any of your channel in terms of flow. Use the real user, quite crucial for finding your dialogue and design. Use real interflow, handle those, and of course, expend time in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for those really advices. There are a lot of questions from all the design people. Raise your hands. We have a question later on.
Hello, talk. Much data do you need training? How much interact and what of things can I put with the technology?
It depends what do you need. So we have Rasa, for example, you have two. First of all, the natural language part where you have how people would intend. So for this, we usually have at least like 50 tools at a starting point. Start on using and improve the button. You have also Rasa Queen Learning from conversations. There you example the flow would look, and you need to annotate and then place it in a learning model, and then it from starting from there.
Saw a hand, or actually raising a hand then from the audience. If not, should I ask the order? Have to adapt changing circumstances, every possible for what?
Yeah, I mean was. Context and depending, use as much data as enrich the conversation. Can pull the of the user to put it into the conversation, the flow to make it intuitive. So, most natural, most human, because we are used to it. If you want to, it really needs to be. Design has to really earlier also to be more as the other interfaces, I would say.
Speaking of voice and text, examples were mostly text. This conversation, but text is different, and is it?
And obviously, you can't so much. If you have just a play, then you obviously to talk. But there, you is very short. But otherwise, it takes too long and the conversation. So, it's obviously voice interaction text, but you have different communication which need to be in mind if you design intelligent assistants.
Any question? The last one? No. Okay, then you would be We heard before from the guys from they designed for maybe the WeChat work US. Do you think we will have anything like a general? How do you think this is going to develop?
Conversational platform. You mean that it's like for everyone just using one? I wouldn't say so. You have, if you use Slack for work, not very much for. You have these different platforms and more conversational. I mean, on Slack, people use bots for internal processes to really more efficient to interact with. But I think it's not build one. But I think you have different bot applications. Yeah.
General interaction. Right now, I feel like it looks like a chat. Only the beginning. Like, do you interface logic is going to change? Is that conversational interface?
You mean, can you specify?
Well, now we need to have a menu. Maybe we don't need to have it anymore.
True, yeah, that's for sure. You just like I have a problem, type it in, and then I get a problem. So this is the interface there is. Menus obviously show the options if the thing. Then you need to of the bot and be very. But other than that, it will. Without any, it will become more even for speak to your smartwatch. Will have more, so just have a lot of them. I mean, today vision of children, all the interfaces and so basically.
Thank you very much for your insights. Please give a hand.